Kevin Cheveldayoff does it again and signs another beautiful contract for the Winnipeg Jets, shoring up the Winnipeg Jets Blue Line. Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports with me, Coach Ryan D. And this is one of the best places to get your Jets coverage and content and fix because I'm an obsessed Jets fan. We cover all things NHL, but today we're going back to the well for our favorite team, Neal Pionk, the right shot power play specialist on the Winnipeg Jets, re-ups with Winnipeg for 4 big more years at $5.8 million per year. Let's roll the intro. We'll get after it.
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux. Oh my God.
And if you're new to Hot Garbage Sports, drop a subscribe, drop a like. Join us on this channel on our way to 5,000. Jets fans, Cheveldayoff is known for 2 really good things: hitting on first round draft picks and ensuring he gets stingy contracts from his players, and he does it again. We predicted earlier on this channel that Neal Pionk would be signing anywhere between $5.5 and $6.2 million per year. I definitely thought that they would use the Josh Morrissey contract as their baseline for what Mr. Pionk was looking for, but then we also put the caveat in that Chevy is able to nickel and dime several hundreds of thousands of dollars out of their players, and we'll see if Chevy can pull a rabbit out of his hat, and he does it with this deal. This deal makes sense for 2 massive reasons. One, $5.8 million is a good cap hit for a player like Neal Pionk. Really fair deal for the power play points and the production he puts up. If you don't know much about Neal Pionk, or you think that there's other defensemen out there that are better than him, a good comparable is, say, Adam Pelech. Neal Pionk has a right-handed shot, is a power play specialist, plays very physical, and is one of the best puck-moving, point-getting defensemen in the mid-pack of defensemen of the NHL. So this is a well-rounded player that plays defensive and can shut down some of the league's best. He did an excellent job shutting down Connor McDavid in the first round series against the Edmonton Oilers. Gets under your skin. He's a fantastic skater. He's a really good puck mover. He's a point producer. Not at some of the highest levels of defensemen, but he's definitely a point producer. He's a power play specialist, and frankly, a guy with all those skills and talents he really could have asked for more. He could have done it, but he takes a team-friendly deal, hoping to get the Jets into the conference finals and maybe even that Stanley Cup. Now, number 2, the term that they sign to Neal Pionk makes so much sense for the Jets. We're going to go over to capfriendly.com and we're going to talk about it, but the Winnipeg Jets have a 3-year window right now because within that 3-year window, Hellebuyck and Schiefele are locked in to steals for how productive those 2 players are. We also have the rest of the core and other new defensemen newly acquired locked in for that 3 to 4 year window. So Kevin Cheveldayoff knows his window is in the next 3 years. He must win a Stanley Cup with this team and this core, and he must keep them together for that length of time. If it doesn't happen, we're probably headed to a rebuild, and you don't want to be sewered by a bunch of lengthy term-based contracts. That is why 4 years makes so much sense for Cheveldayoff. Does this make sense for Neal Pionk? Well, frankly, who cares? I'm not Neal Pionk. He's happy. He's locked in over $20 million of guaranteed money into his bank account, and he's going to be a productive top pairing member of the Winnipeg Jets for years to come. And if he doesn't make the first pairing, it's fine. Second pairing still gets a lot of ice, and he's going to be the number 1 guy in the power play. So this guy is locked into big minutes. He's locked into a team he likes. He's locked into a team that could win, and he's made over $20 million. These are all good things for Pionk. So could he have got more money? Probably, but whatever. Not worried about that. Just worried about the Jets' future. And over the next 3 years, the Jets' future looks stable, hopefully bright. Let's jump over to capfriendly.com. Let's take a look at the Jets' situation right now. Okay, so the first thing you'll see right now is that the Jets have used most of their salary cap when you take a look at capfriendly.com or Puckpedia. That's not actually true. I'm not a salary cap expert, so go ahead and roast me in the comments if I get a few little things wrong here. But realistically, the Jets still have about $5 million left to sign Andrew Copp. We'll talk about Andrew Copp at the end of this video. Now, as we scroll down, we're going to see how the core is locked up. And like I said, you have Wheeler till 23, 24. You have Connor, you have Schiefele, you have Ehlers, all locked into that key area, plus Adam Lowry, who goes a little longer, which is fine. It's less risky based on both his age and his low cap hit. And then we take a look at the defensemen. Our defensemen are all locked in now, at least our top 5 till 23, 24. A couple of them are going beyond, staples of the team, but realistically that 23, 24, 24, 25, that's the end of the window unless the Jets can redraft and retool, say like a Boston Bruins or something like that, and keep the good times rolling. But Neal Pionk makes tons of sense because he just fits into that normal window for Winnipeg. So we said Connor Hellebuyck's done in 23-24. You can see that. We know that Mark Schiefele is done in 23 and 24. And those are the two biggest contracts that I see here that are a threat to increase, meaning they're probably worth way more than what they're being paid right now. So will they stay with Winnipeg or not? We don't need to talk about that right now. That is why the 4-year term for Neal Pionk makes so much sense. There's also another interesting thing to look at here, and the only big RFA that's going to be sitting on Winnipeg's roster that could be in line for a big payday is Pierre Luc Dubois. Regardless of how bad his season was last year, it's a number 3 overall draft pick down the middle of the ice, and if he has a really good year this year, he could demand, well, quite a significant pay raise from his $5 million. Whether Jets fans thinks he deserves it or not is a totally different thing. However, you can see with Dubois' $5 million coming off the cap hit next year, because we will, as the Winnipeg Jets, be right at the cap this year once Andrew Copp is re-signed. He'll get re-signed. So when Pierre Luc Dubois' contract comes off, that frees up $5 million. Paul Stastny's contract is over at the end of this year. That frees up $3.7 million, which is why Paul Stastny's deal was so good. And then when you scroll down here, there's this little guy named Nathan Beaulieau who is overpaid and not very good, but that's fine. His $1.2 million comes off the books. So you're really left with about $10 million the next year to re-sign Luc Dubois. I'm not saying he's getting $10 million, but you're left with enough cap space to sign Dubois, keep everybody else in your core together for another run, as well as sign some more entry-level deals or get some other, depth players in there. So Kevin Cheveldayoff has become an absolute master of the salary cap. If that didn't prove to you how good he is at balancing his cap and making sure that he's not overpaying players, I don't know what more I can do to convince you of that. Now, do I think these are the right combination of players? I'm still unsure. Over the last 2 or 3 years, I've really questioned, do the Winnipeg Jets have the right locker room chemistry to win the cup? But then I keep talking myself back and off the ledge and going, well, you know what? As frustrated as I get with guys like Heinola and Stastny not making the lineup regularly, or guys like Vesalainen, or wondering if the chemistry in the room makes sense. So yeah, okay, Cheveldayoff, you hit on your picks, you've signed good deals, but if the puzzle pieces don't work together, it doesn't mean anything. But then I kind of retract and think about other teams like the San Jose Sharks. I think about the Nashville Predators. I think about teams that had a really good Stanley Cup window and they just didn't win it. It's a very hard trophy to win. So the best thing that a general manager can do, yes, is win the Stanley Cup, but really the job of the general manager is to create a team that can compete for the cup every year. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's a lot like playing fantasy football. There's 2 separate seasons. There's a little bit of luck that happens in the playoffs, and the regular season is really a totally different game from the playoffs, meaning the regular season is just seeding for the playoffs. Most teams that end up first in their division or first in their conference do not end up winning the Stanley Cup, not at the rate teams in the NBA or other major sports do, such as baseball. Football, because it's a one-game, situation, we're going to leave that one out. But the teams that battle in series, baseball, hockey, and basketball, the first place teams have a much more dominating win rate in basketball and baseball than they do hockey. It's somewhere around 30% for hockey. Like, it's not high. That means there's a lot of mid-pack teams and Cinderella teams, think the LA Kings, the St. Louis Blues, or mid-pack teams like when Chicago won a couple cups. You may not think of them as a mid-pack team, but they did get into the playoffs somewhere at position 3 or 4. Most years they ended up winning it. So here we are. Tampa Bay won it from 3. Are they a real mid-pack team? No, but they just needed to get into the playoffs. Examples all over the place of 3s and 4s winning the cup. So all Winnipeg has to do is make the playoffs. And then once you make the playoffs, there's 2 things that happen. 1, do you have the chemistry to play the different game that is the playoffs? And 2, do you have the depth and frankly a little bit of luck to stay away from the injury bug so you can go ahead and win? People are concerned about Hellebuyck and Comrie being his backup. I'm not in the least. It doesn't matter who the backup is to Hellebuyck. If Hellebuyck's out, we're not winning the cup. It's that simple. So regardless of Comrie being in the net or not, you could literally put a shooter-tutor in. Hellebuyck's going to play 55 to 62 games within the year. And if Hellebuyck is injured come the playoff time, our chances this year are pretty much boned anyway. So I'm not really worried about who the backup's going to be. And I don't think we should be spending a lot of money on a higher end backup when we got guys like Pionk, Copp, and Stastny to sign. So Stastny, really, really great deal for us. Pionk, really great deal for us. Hopefully we can avoid arbitration with Andrew Copp, because I think there's a little tension on both those sides. And next year, it looks bright to be able to sign Luc Dubois if he does have have a good year. So many options for the Jets. This is a team that can make the playoffs. They're not going to be a first place team in the Central, but once they make the playoffs with a hot goalie, with the defensive core that they have, and some of the firepower up front, this team could for sure win a Stanley Cup. They'll never be anybody's favorite, but they could come out of nowhere and steal one. This has been Coach Ryan D for Hawkeye Bird Sports. Let me know what you think about Neal Pionk, Kevin Cheveldayoff, and the rest of the Winnipeg Jets.